Hey guys, it's Mike, and today I'm out in front of our sweet potato bed, and I want to share with you in this video a couple tips and tricks that we've learned while growing them. This is our third time growing sweet potatoes, and it isn't our most successful, so that's one of the things I want to share, what we did wrong here, along with a real funny story about the first time we grew sweet potatoes. So the mistake we made is probably a pretty common one. If you've ever grown regular potatoes, you know how to do that. You plant the whole potato, or you cut the eyes out and you plant those, and that turns into a plant, and then under the ground you have many of potatoes. Well, with sweet potatoes, it's not like that. So we didn't know that. We planted the whole potato, and 6 months later we came back and the thing had like tripled in size, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It tasted fine. Some of them were a little bit rotted, and they actually split open too. They grow so big, and that could leave room for like it to rot out. So you don't really want to do that, I guess. I mean, I guess it's not a horrible mistake. You know, we still had food, but the way to do it, you need to have slips first. So you need to either have them in your garden or get them from a friend. But if you don't have any, the way you start it is you cut off the top of the potato and you plant that, and then from there, like you could do this in a pot, from there it'll grow out all these vines, and each one of those you could take off and plant. So since we already have sweet potatoes, all we have to do is cut off a piece of the vine, and then we could take some of these leaves off like this, and then we stick this in the ground, and that's it. The potato is going to grow off of this root, and you could plant these about a foot apart from each other and they'll do fine. So the reason you're going to want to get slips instead of planting the whole potato like we did, even though we did get a bigger potato after, is first you get to eat the potato because you're only going to take the top to make the slips. And second, you're going to get tons of these slips coming off. So one potato is going to produce, like one top is going to produce, I think, maybe up to 10 vines. It all depends, maybe like 5 to 10 vines. And each vine is going to produce its own potato. So from one potato, you're going to get to eat it, and you're going to get maybe 5 to 10 slips that you can plant. Plus, if you let the slips grow really long, you could cut them in half. You want them to be about a foot in length, probably. So to prepare the bed for the sweet potato, all I did was put down soil and then put mulch on top of it. That's it. And then once you do that and you have your slips, you can go ahead and just poke these into the ground about 4 to 6 inches and spread them a foot apart, and that should be good. One thing you're going to want to do as these grow, you're going to want to prevent them from tapping in more, because this vine's going to grow along the ground and it's going to want to tap in roots along the way. And each one of those roots is potentially another potato. And the reason why you don't want that many is because then you won't have any big ones. They'll all be small, they might just be roots. So to prevent it from doing that, all you have to do is, as it grows, you're going to wrap it around itself, the vine, and make sure that none of those roots get into the ground. And that's it. So the first time we planted the potatoes, we had that mistake where we planted the whole potato and then just grew the bigger potato. The second time, we actually did the best. We just planted them in mulch, just like I showed you, with them spaced 12 inches apart, and everything worked good. 6 months later we came back, and every spot that we planted one had a nice good sized potato. The third time we planted the sweet potato, I think what I did wrong here is I put too much nitrogen into the soil. We used the same chicken manure pellets that we use, and what that did is it made the leaves grow. So it looks like a nice sweet potato bed, but what actually happened is it was just growing leaves and not potatoes. So you don't want to add any nitrogen to your soil for the sweet potatoes. So I'm going to go ahead and dig one up. I did this a couple months ago and the potatoes weren't that big. It had already been over 6 months, so I was expecting to have nice potatoes in here, but they were all pretty small. And I'm going to go ahead and show you anyway. Maybe they're a little bit bigger, maybe they're not. But what you want to look for in the potato as it's done, you might see some flowers come up. Also, the vine is going to start to look woody, and that's where you know the potato is. So right in here it looks like I planted the potato somewhere. There we go. It's not that big. Here's one that's a little bit bigger. So here's our harvest. I'm sure there's plenty more, but they're all going to be about this size. So I think I'm going to let it go for a little longer, and maybe we'll get some bigger ones as the nitrogen depletes, and just time will make them grow bigger. So those are a couple mistakes that I've made using too much nitrogen. And also one of the things that we couldn't do because we weren't here is what I was talking about, was spiraling the vine around itself. Since we weren't here for 3 months, they kind of just did their thing and dropped other roots and put more energy into like roots that would eventually be nothing versus storing it into the potato. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope I've inspired you to maybe try to grow sweet potatoes. You can do this almost anywhere, especially now. It's only May, so you have the whole summer for them to grow, and you should be able to harvest good sized sweet potatoes. The whole reason I started this channel was to inspire people to grow food. It wasn't necessarily to live off grid in a shipping container in Hawaii. These things don't matter. If you like where you live, you don't have to come to Hawaii, or you don't have to live off grid. But you can plant food, and it's gonna make you feel good, especially when you like harvest it. You're gonna feel really good that you're doing pretty much what I consider the most important thing that we can do. So I'd like to do more videos like this in the future. Let me know if you'd like to see them, or maybe specific plants that you'd like me to cover. But anyway, thanks for watching. See you guys. Have a good day. Thank you.